What's up, guys? Brandon with Strict Vision Athletics. Welcome to this episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. James Pieratt is back in the building. Yes, Wild Hunt is here. Episode number 2. This is an awesome conversation, just kind of following up on the one we had before. We're talking high intensity, long distance running, training, and business mindset. You're going to love this one. Enjoy. So you made it out to Phoenix, just out here to visit friends, and
yeah.
pretty much
see you guys.
Best thing ever now.
No, dude, and honestly, something weird happened. We kind of fell in love with it. Like, last time I was here, I was just in and out real quick. I saw you guys, slept at an Airbnb, and was,
Yeah.
And so, just having the extra time, Tempe mostly was where we're at. And I was like, dude, it's really nice out here.
Oh, Arizona's amazing.
Better than California.
We need to get you out here.
You
Dude,
seriously should consider it, man. It's a really nice place to call home, especially right now because it's so nice.
We were thinking about within a couple years getting like a park season home down here.
Yeah.
But we're working. We're in the middle right now of moving up towards Tahoe, and then we'll be there for about 2 years, and then Northern Washington is where we're going to settle. But
nice.
Definitely having something opposite would be nice.
Yeah.
But no, I love it. I love all the native culture. I love everything's just clean and efficient, and I'm coming from California. It's just foreign.
Yeah, I was about to say, coming from California, everything would seem clean and efficient.
Yes, it's correct.
Yeah. No, it's a nice place, especially right now. I mean, it's a little overcrowded with all the snowbirds. At least us locals feel that way. There's probably how many snowbirds do we get? I mean, in a season when it's crazy, thousands and thousands of people.
The traffic gets ridiculous.
It gets ridiculous.
So, yeah.
But literally, this is the first year where I've even really noticed it. It's not that bad, normally. But
well,
hey,
you don't leave your house, so.
Hey, I'm more or less in that same boat, so I get you.
Yeah, man. So what's been going on? How's training been for you?
Dude, it's been good. Last week I started camp for my next ultra. Yeah. So doing all that and kind of coming out of that fun phase. So before I started camp, since doing the multi-day ultras, I've had to kind of change my approach nutritionally. And
how so?
Well, I'm working, my nutritionist, you guys follow MMA at all?
A little bit, yeah.
So I have the same nutritionist as Israel Adesanya, Alexander Volkanovski, and Leon Edwards, and some other guys. But he's an expert with dehydration, rehydration, nutrition, fueling, and inoptimal forms of when you're depleted. Yeah. And so he's upgraded my nutrition approach a lot for these things. And now, in preparing for the multi-day event at the start of the camp, I think the last time I was here was the first time I did it. But I'll try to intentionally put on about 8 extra pounds of body fat because I'm going to be, so for the next 4 months, I'll be running between 1 and 4 ultra marathons every week, just as part of my training. 40, wow. Between 40 and 50 miles generally. And
that extra 8 pounds is just for the insulation and all the
what's going to come off.
Consumption.
It's going to come off so quick. And that I do more, but the thing is, after that I start to notice it. Like if you're a sprinter or a gymnast, don't put 8 pounds of body fat on. It's gonna throw you way out of whack. If you're taking moderate, slow steps in the same direction, kicking dirt up and down mountains, then yeah, it's gonna, especially. But by the time that I actually do the event, it's gonna be gone, But it'll protect, I won't be depleted quite as quickly through the camp.
Yeah.
And so this one we're not letting. I'll tell you guys about it afterwards, but the details are, mum for now.
Sure.
It's going to be sponsored by some pretty cool people: Barbell Apparel, Scratch Nutrition, Barefoot Athletic Shoes.
Dude,
they're
got them on right now. No way. Are we matching?
We're matching.
That's awesome.
You got the Space Wolves on right now? Or,
yeah.
Yeah. So I got some of those at home. Yeah, dude. They just sent some for Janae, too.
They're great. I've been kind of branching out a bit just beyond the Shamas with it being so cold outside. Okay. These Vivos, but I love the Barefoot shoes. They're great.
So they're one of my sponsors, them and Vivo technically, but just kind of different directions,
Sure.
But the Barefoot boot, it's my favorite. I've worn every boot. I worked in blue collar my whole life. And I've never put on it. It's a barefoot. It's literally a barefoot boot.
Yeah,
so awesome.
In preparation for this, we've been doing a lot of like off trail hiking and rocking and stuff.
I saw you guys post a cool pic yesterday,
bro. I was literally, when we were up there, I was thinking, man, I got to make a point of mentioning to James that for your specific type of conditioning, for the ultras, the fact that you want to stay active in the gym. Right. Arizona, especially if you were to come and link up with us and do some of these like high altitude fast hikes.
Oh yeah,
it's awesome for your training.
Dude,
it's amazing.
We did a nice hike yesterday. Me and my buddy went out with the ladies, and he was carrying his kid. I was carrying a weight vest, and I was like it's supposed to be an active recovery day. But I was like, man, I'm feeling pretty good right now. I've done a bunch of Bulgarian split squats the day before and Hindu squats. And I was like, yeah, man. So I was like, the inclines that, and it was just beautiful too. I love how you guys have the rises here and then flat land around. So the higher up you can see forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
So you saw the video I did with the Vivo shoes at the top of Superstition Mountain.
Yeah.
That elevation is 4,800.
48.
It's
Yeah,
about 4,800 elevation, and we did it. You can do it like you could do it in 65, 75 minutes.
That's rough.
That means
That'd be
you are
fun.
going. It is literally like hand over fist. You are bouldering the entire way up.
Have you ever heard of fell running?
No.
It's popular over in Britain, but it's basically finding the steepest thing you can find and then running it fast. And it's like you got these guys in Scotland, and we just and they're
Up those hills and stuff. Yeah.
Frankly, it's my least favorite part of running is doing that. So I'm not, you won't see me doing that, but
They do that on ski jumps, right? Where they got like
maybe I don't even know.
Yeah,
They go
I've
up-
seen them race up ski jumps. Before, and
yeah.
that looks,
Dude, that's
it looks
brutal.
disgusting. Yeah.
That's brutal.
This is not, and that's what I try to explain when people are like, "You run it, right?" I'm like, "You can't run it.
There's no running in
There's
an
no
incline
running
like that.
in an incline like that. You're climbing." But that slow, steady, never stopping, hand over fist bouldering it's 3 miles. 3 miles up, 3 miles down. It's just enough to be like exhausting for a high level athlete.
Bro, that was one of the biggest mistakes I made on the 500-mile ultra. So my 500-mile ultra marathon, the solo I did, went from border to border across the entire state of Oregon along the highest point of following the highest points of the entire state. And I mean, that's the Pacific Crest Trail for you, but it follows the Pacific Crest from Mexico to Canada. And I did the entire Oregon portion. Oh yeah, that's the finish at the Bridge of the Gods right there.
The Bridge of the Gods. What a cool name.
Oh, dude, that was awesome.
Is this you finishing right
That's
here?
you right there?
Running for 9.5 days.
Oh my goodness.
I would not be upright at this point.
I was scared to stop here. I felt like I had this weird thing in the back of my mind, like if I stop, something's gonna break. Like the only thing keeping you alive is moving now. So I was like, I had to like force myself to it was weird, man. It was weird.
Something's got to happen to you after that amount of time of consistently running and moving.
It changes you at a different level.
You just go.
After the first 3 days, I was a different human being.
Yeah.
And the first 3 days were terrible. I failed to hit my mileage all 3 days, first 3 days. I jumped up 6,000 feet in elevation with 0 adaptation period. My pack was too heavy. On top of it already being too heavy, I added more water because there was drought in the area. And so that was an extra 8 pounds. So the pack was well over 40 pounds.
What?
Running, And no, the first 3 days it was like a complete evisceration of the mind. And the whole time I'm just like, dude, are you not what you thought you were? Like, is there something, maybe you're not tough enough for that. It was like that doubt. And I don't really feel that very often, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the fact, someone's telling me like, dude, elevation does that to your brain. Like it makes your brain work, you know what I mean? Differently.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have enough oxygen. It starts. And I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I didn't bring trekking poles, so that was brutal. And then at my first resupply after the day 3, as I was coming down out of like the mountains of southern Oregon, I had Janae add some to my resupply.
Yeah.
And a game changer. But
there's a company that I want to make sure I link you with. It's called Elevate, and it's the best I've found. They're portable elevation trainers that you can take with you in the gym. Like not the fake. It's a mask, but it's got the tank and the tubes and the valves. It's like a true.
That. I need that.
And
yeah.
it's in a little suitcase.
Oh yeah.
Their social media. They're sending a couple out here in the next couple months.
Yeah.
You can do anything anywhere at high elevation. We're talking 6, even 7,000 feet elevation. You can sleep with it.
Dude, that's a game changer for me because for the next couple months I have to train at sea level, and it's unfortunate. You can take little breaks, and I can drive a couple hours and get and get something in here and there, but it's not the same, especially not like conditioning on an assault bike in the gym or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And that's the stuff you need to do your VO2 max training at appropriate sea level, and living in Sacramento right now is not the best place for that.
It's so important and so incredible. I think that people who are at such a high level like yourself, really for everybody, but especially somebody who trains consistently, to tap into that place where you were saying, questioning whether or not you actually got. I mean, because for some of us, we can kind of get, our level of complacency to an average person. They may look at it and be like, "That's not complacency. You're insane. You're doing things that." But for guys like us, we know when we're getting a little bit soft on our routine.
Well, it's important to remember the standard isn't other people. The standard is your potential. So what are you capable of and where are your limits? Because if you're just like, oh, I'm just going to do as much as the next guy, or even just do what he doesn't do a little bit more, how much are you leaving on the table, you know? And it's not to say that everyone has to think like that or do like that, but I found that most of my growth comes just beyond my comfort zone, wherever that comfort zone is. And I'm not taking wild swings at things I'll never accomplish. I just do things that I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish. My next ultra, it's not as long as this last one, but it's through literally one of the most hostile environments on planet Earth. And
can you say where it is?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Off air.
Off air. Okay, cool. Yeah.
But you'll dig it. And it's just, we're going to get all the marketing stuff, get all the content, get everything done so I can just focus on that as opposed to, having to talk about it constantly throughout the process. And when I go into camp, I have like a Marvin Hagler mindset. I like to isolate myself from everything and just focus and not
have all the media, not have all the posting and social media around you. Yeah.
Exactly. So
I had a question for you. When you're doing that hike, how are you resting? Are you sleeping? Like, what does that look like?
So the plan, there's there's the plan going in, and there was what actually happened after the first 3 days blew everything apart. The plan going in was to sleep every night, try to get a solid 6 hours every night at least. Because unlike in say like a 3-day ultra, if you're running like 200 miles in 4 days, whatever, like, you can get by with just a few naps here and there. But I knew it was going to take somewhere more than 10 days or so. And you're just not, sleep deprivation is going to be, that's something you don't need on top of everything else you're dealing with. Yeah. So I also wanted to maintain as much of a routine day to day as I could and keep it as normal. And that was the other thing throughout this process. I was it was such a big thing running a 500-mile solo self-supported ultramarathon that I tried to normalize it as much as I could and just make it mundane, routine. I didn't even hang out with people who I thought would be like, whoa, dude, that's, wow. Or, like I was just like, I only hung out with other psychos that were like, oh, that'll be fun, man. 'Cause I wanted, seriously, because I just didn't want that in my head. Yeah. And so day to day, the routine was very much the same. In that routine, I had planned, I know from experience that carrying 30 to 35 pounds on my back, running over rough terrain at high elevation, I can cover about 50 miles a day. And that's finding water, purifying it, making camp, doing all that, you know what I mean, every day. So that was more or less what I was going to stick to. I didn't know if I could stick to that for 10 days, but that was about what it was going to come out to. Yeah. And so that was the plan. And I was like, I'll get, 6 hours of sleep every night, have a couple hours in the morning. It's going to take me a while to turn my body on and off, so you can't neglect that either. Plus, I like to have a hot meal every morning and every night. A lot of like the long range backpackers will do just like cold soaks on their stuff and eat everything cold. I like that hot meal. I'm also pushing my body harder, so I need But anytime I'm out hunting, I like at least one hot meal in a day if I can. Yeah. I just use a little mini an MSR Pocket Rocket Deluxe. It's 3 ounces, screws into a little canister, all fits in a little titanium pot. About yay big. That no space, no weight at all. So.
And it just cooks like on its own.
Dude, it boils water massively quick, super quick in a little pot. I add that I use Peak refuel meals generally. They just have more calories and higher protein, per weight or per ounce than anything else in the market that I'm aware of.
And you only eat twice a day, once in the morning, once at night?
No, during the day, during the lunch, when I'd have to stop usually mid-afternoon or so for water to resupply, filter and clean and resupply the water from my Camel Pack and from my, my protein shakes and all that. Mm-hmm. And at every water source, I would also, so like another strategy is I'd try to carry as much water as I could inside my body rather than on my body. So every time I'm at a water source, I pound, 16 to 24 ounces of just straight water straight up. Then I have a protein shake with, 2 scoops of steak shake and then 2 scoops of Animal Pack, like just a multivitamin powder. And that was like a really good recipe for me because, and Scratch for the carbs. Scratch, I use like the Scratch Recovery.
When you say filter water, are you getting this out of streams, rivers?
So the PC, some of it, yes. Yeah. Streams, rivers, reservoirs. Some of it also were like water caches and stuff. And then there were a couple times where I'd pass like a out of season ski resort or something. They'd have like a spigot, with like a hose, and that was always preferred. I'd still clean it anyway just because I didn't want to deal with, Yeah. But I used a like UV cleaning, so it's pretty quick for like larger amounts of water. What's it called? The SteriPen. As opposed to using like the typical Sawyer squeeze where you're manually squeezing a bag of water through a filter into a Yeah. you stick there, it's like 90
That's
seconds.
the other thing about what you're doing is it's not just having a advanced understanding of athletics and training and diet and nutrition. It's also having the understanding of like wilderness survival and how to like
totally
navigation.
Navigation. That's half the thing. I feel like 2/3 of the population, myself included, wouldn't even like know where you were going half the time. Like you.
Oh, that's the thing. I ran more than 500 miles. I got lost twice. I just didn't count those miles because I had to get back to trail and get moving. So I don't know how, it would have been at least 513 because I got off trail 8 miles, linked back up about 5 miles later with the trail. So it would have been more because that happened twice.
Or just a casual 12-mile miss.
Well, the thing was, that was straight uphill. I found myself going from 7,000 feet to 9,500 feet. And I'm like, why am I... What's going on here? And I'm like, oh, dude, this isn't. You weren't supposed to go over 8 today. What's happening? And I'm like, oh, must have taken a wrong turn. So there was. I mean, it's comical in retrospect now, but looking back, like, actually, that was funny. I was like, it was getting dark too when it happened, and I just out of nowhere, I just see like this random, like a couple gay dudes just walking down, like just like in like high tech hiking gear, but like walking down, like mountaineering gear, coming off the side of a mountain. And they're like, "Are you sure you want to go up there tonight?" And I'm like, wait, this doesn't go through? They're like, no. And I'm like, oh, cool, thanks, guys.
Yeah. No.
I'm curious about the wildlife that you see on these things.
So I got some pretty cool videos. I saw a bunch of deer. I had a bear rooting around on I was on like a mountainside that had been logged, so it was open and like sound could carry and I could hear. I saw a bear like cracking logs for grubs, or I didn't see it, I heard it, like,
Right.
I know that sound well being a bear hunter. So I know that was the other thing too. I'm like, no bow. No gun.
No gun.
Very small knife. I don't like.
Probably not at your most level
not.
of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Not really ready to fight a bear.
No.
Fresh in the morning, wouldn't want to fight a bear.
No.
What would you say? I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you truly felt like this is extremely dangerous? Like this could be life or death. I need to do something here. This is an emergency.
On that trail, I've had 2 close calls on that trail, crossing the Oregon desert. It's like actually like a joke. It's not a desert. It was once a forest that got hit like 20 years ago by a massive forest fire that was so hot it killed everything. It burned the undergrowth, everything. It stripped it down to sand and rock.
I was going to say, does Oregon have deserts?
They do actually, yeah, but high desert. But this isn't that. It's almost like a dark joke. And you get there, and so there's no water that whole time. But that's the other thing. I ran a marathon without water, without a water source. Rather, you pick as much as you can going into it. And that was through the stretch, and this was a 19-mile stretch. There was a 19-mile stretch and a 26-mile stretch without water.
Wow.
But on this 19-mile stretch, I detoured to a water source that ended up not having any water.
It was dried?
Yeah, and it was all downhill to get to it, down sandy, and I'm sliding, and so I'm like, okay, no water. And now I have to go straight back uphill just to get back to neutral and then continue on.
Right.
And so that was arguably pretty close. Also, I had run out of carbs by that point. It was right before my next resupply. Like, because for resupply, I had prearranged boxes to be sent to different points in the trail.
Sure.
Like out of season ski resort, campground, a post office, and like a Mazama, like Crater Lake, stuff like that. And so anyway, long story short, that was a close call. And then bear hunting once I got caught in an unexpected spring blizzard that buried everything, closed off the roads, and left me for 3 days in the snow alone, without winter.
3 days?
Yeah, without winter gear.
Whoa.
It was in spring, so it was April, so I was out there,
Yeah.
Had like a
Where were you?
in Idaho.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that'd do it. Oh, wow.
Any frostbite or anything?
No, I did pretty good. I had toe liners and socks and all that, and I always bring extra ribeye. And on that one, I wasn't backpack. I got dropped off, so I had a pile of wood. And I did go through the wood, but I was able to collect a good amount of bark and stuff. Like the trees are giant, so just chop, and go find a lot of fallen trees, pull off large like doors of bark, and chop them up and burn those. So I did pretty good.
What do you find so incredibly rewarding about these isolation experiences that you go through? Because it seems like that is a common occurrence with just about everything that you're doing these ultras, they're usually solo. Yeah. These hunts, you also solo.
Yeah.
What do you find so rewarding about that?
I don't know, man. I mean, I've always been an introvert. I've spent most of my life alone, in like the physical sense. And I just find the best calmest, most centered version of myself when I'm in situations like that. And I mean, if you were to ask a psychologist, I'm sure they'd say like, oh yeah, he grew up in the mountain. His happiest memories are hunting bear with his dad in the mountains and pushing his legs until he pukes, and you know what I mean, and trying to keep up with the hound. You know, when you're objectively probably too young. 7 might have been too young for that, but no, like, you know, so there's layers to it, but also I mean, think about it objectively. What grown man wouldn't want to go play ninja in the woods for 10 days? You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it's what we're just pretending to be Spartans out there punishing ourselves. And, so like in your mind, you're having this massive, you're in a shield wall essentially, just, and it's like, what isn't to love? That's something that men need in our lives in some form or another. And most of us, our society doesn't really, it's not even a societal critique, just life today. We're victims of our own success. You don't have to stand in a shield wall. You don't have to hike cross country to go settle in new land with 80 pounds of all of your belongings on your back, or row across the sea and to an island. And, there is no more Troy.
Yeah, we have to microdose all of that.
We do. So that's what jiu-jitsu is. That's what ultra marathons are, and it's relative to everyone. And of course, I'm being a lifelong bear hunter. A former criminal and inmate, and a million, like my compass is maybe a little different, the thresholds and levels might be a little different, but it's the same thing. Like if you're a guy who's never worked out before and you come and you watch the Becoming 1% podcast, you're like, hey man, I think I'm gonna try some TRX training and maybe do a jiu-jitsu class or whatever, and that's just taking you outside your comfort zone. That's amazing. That's the dosage. It's no different than what I'm doing at that at the personal growth level.
You have an extremely high level of self-reliance. I think that definitely plays into, you mentioned rowing across the sea, and I think there's a couple of Vikings references in there. There's that great scene I loved in that show. That I assume you've seen it, of course.
Ragnar,
one of those real early seasons when Bjorn, it's like when he first becomes a man.
He
says he's like, I'm leaving, I'm going out into the wilderness.
I love that, bro.
And he says, why? He says, because you don't think I can do it.
I love that, and that's where he becomes a man.
That's where he becomes a man.
Berserker that whole fish hooks, and dude, that was savage.
And the bear when he fights the bear for the fish.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a good part of that show.
That one. I remember when they sent the Berserker for him. That's cool. Yeah. Janae and I were just talking. We're gonna go back and rewatch it. We're watching Billions right now, and once we finish that, we're gonna go back.
That was your show for a while, wasn't it?
So Succession, close though.
Everyone was talking about Succession, but yeah, there are some. I mean, there's some similarities, but no. I have no interest in the financial market, no connection to New York City, any of that, and the show's the actors are so good, the story just pulls me in.
It's gripping.
What's it on?
Bobby Axelrod.
Where do you watch it?
Bobby Axelrod.
Yeah,
I love the character. It's on. I'm watching it on Paramount Plus, but I think it's the Showtime plug-in for it or something.
Okay.
And the other thing is, have you seen Marco Polo on Netflix?
Yes.
Bro.
Yes.
Oh.
Did you ever see that? I think I recommended that at one point.
There was only like 1 or 2 seasons.
It was two seasons,
bro.
Marco Polo, the actor playing Marco Polo, was kind of A for average. The character playing Kublai.
Yep.
Kublai Khan. It's the guy from Avengers. He plays the other. Wong. He plays the other wizard alongside Doctor Strange. He plays the blessed Kublai. He should have won something for that.
Dude.
He seriously should have.
How about 100 Eyes?
Dude, yes.
That guy the whole time.
Even a blind man can see that
he burns the whole time. He's just talking shit the whole time. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, he's so wise. He's just like, I love that character.
I love that character, and I love the very brief interactions that Kublai has with him.
Yeah.
Because he has this weird mutual respect for him, where he's like, I'm never going to step on your toes. I'm never going to tell you what to do. Train my sons, my warriors, to be like you. That's all I want from you.
Bro, he doesn't give anyone else that level of respect.
No one.
Like, honestly. I just did a thing on Genghis Khan today, but
I just saw that. Can you? Because I didn't watch it. Can you reiterate it for me? Because I wanted to see it.
Yeah, it was basically just so Genghis Khan, just the title was Genghis Khan was jacked AF, but apparently, so the Mongols in general, shorter in stature but very powerfully built, and but so when Chinese and Muslim chroniclers met Genghis Khan, they were shocked by how tall he was. He was tall, broad-shouldered, strong. And so I went into Mongol training, basically, or and so he was known, it was recorded that his favorite method of strength conditioning for his army was wrestling matches. And so big on grappling. So grappling, I went into some of them just to touch on the Mongol archery, how, their bows had draw strengths of up to 160 pounds. They drew them with a single thumb, just the thumb draw instead of the traditional finger draw.
And they would hold the remaining arrows with their other hand,
exactly.
right?
And, it was and fold them in. It's just boom,
and
like
just
a machine
click,
gun.
Click, like Legolas, like that fast.
And they're timing it each release to when the brief instant where all 4 of the horse's hooves are off the ground. So it's a completely an air balance shot, So it's not this or this. It's whoop, and it's just second nature.
Did you catch the episode we did with Dash Render, the archer, the guy who studies medieval weaponry?
No, but I'll have
That's
to.
That's a fun one. We got to connect you to.
Okay, yeah.
Keep going. So Genghis Khan was big. He was strong.
Yeah, and so I just did basically, a quick, as much as you can do in a 60-second reel or whatever breakdown of him.
He has some of the most interesting military tactics that I'd ever read about.
My favorite military commander of all time. The way he organized the Tumens, the way he put such an emphasis on building a communication system, how he took the technologies from more technologically advanced, like settled society. He got Persian siege
assimilated them into his empire. Yeah.
Also, the first guy ever in world history to institute complete religious freedom.
And they touch on that in Marco Polo.
He did.
I loved that.
The funny thing is, Genghis Khan did more to further and protect even Christianity than all popes combined. Like that's a crazy thing in terms of refugees, in terms of protecting ID. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
But he just he's like
he let everybody coexist.
It was a true meritocracy. Possibly history's first. It's like if you were good, I don't care what color you are, what you kneel to, what god you worship. If you serve the horde and you have skills, and that was the other thing. Anywhere the horde went, it wasn't just military people. It was miners and artists and gold. Like they were interested in skilled labor,
philosophers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Acquisition of that. So, he overall he was my favorite military commander. I love Hannibal too. Hannibal Barca.
I'm not familiar with him.
He's the guy who came closest to wiping Rome out. He defeated them time after time after time, and he just didn't have enough allies in Italy to support him to besiege Rome supply-wise.
They do in Gladiator. Isn't that the recreation battle that they try to do? They mention
correct.
Hannibal.
So you're going to love this.
Guy,
I heard that Anton Fuqua is making a movie about Hannibal with Denzel set to stars him.
No.
That's what I heard.
Oh,
that's what I heard, bro. If that's
going to be sick.
It's going to be my favorite movie in a long time. I can already tell you that. If that happens, that project gets made because Hannibal was, dude, it just, you see a lot like Napoleon, for instance, very good military commander, skilled, disciplined, all that, but he got by mostly on boldness, like being bolder than the next guy.
Yeah.
And just, know.
Did you see the movie?
I did.
What'd you think?
The movie itself was good, but not great. The historical adherence was very, very loose. They deviated a lot from
You
history.
said it perfectly.
Yeah. But
put a little bit too much emphasis on the Josephine thing. Like, I really didn't care.
She was my least favorite part of his life to begin. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude. And they skipped a lot of the cool militaries. They showed Austerlitz, and they showed Tulum, but they skipped a lot of the cool stuff, man.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm. So
I wanted to give you a kudos because between the last time you were here and this time, I've been looking at your content, and it's awesome, man. It's like so unique, and it's also informational. I love the content that you put out.
I really like. I put more effort. I mean, I've always put effort into the content, but I started thinking about it at a deeper level and just thinking about it more as a production rather than a post, And so I just try to make everything like I edit all my own stuff. I have, some guys help me shoot it, and a good buddy of mine that helps with my YouTube stuff. But as far as just the reels, really, it's just what I'm interested in, what I'm thinking about that day, and then, let's, put something together and do some actual production behind it instead of just typing out a post or recording, hey, here I am on the toilet, whatever, Go read about Genghis Khan, So
no, I don't remember the last time that I watched one that I didn't learn something.
Oh, well, that's true. Value.
There's so much value in just learning, and if you have any interest in history, your page automatically has relevance. And if you're
for sure
into this kind of history, it's addictive.
Yeah, so it's people with the physical culture, and then obviously the hybrid training people. I get, there's a lot, and then I'm also surprised how much those two tend to overlap. And then I have military law enforcement that tends to be like the basis of my following, because and a lot of military and law enforcement guys are interested in military history, how how Vikings did strength training, how the Kalenjin tribe of Kenya can outrun anyone over 26 miles, and and I'm also. A lot of people disagree with me, not that I care even a little bit, but I think that most of there are massive levels of physical and athletic talent hiding in tribal societies around the world that most people haven't even considered. Just look at someone like Francis Ngannou, per se. You know what I mean? Like, there's 100 more of him sitting somewhere in West Africa. You go watch like Ghana.
That's terrifying.
No, dude. Like, think about this. Go watch native Ghana, like wrestling matches in native Ghana.
Yeah.
Like, you put one of those guys at American Top Team for 5 years, and he'll take John Jones' head off. Like, you know what I mean? This is a whole different level of, you know. And then people are like, no, it's like think about it objectively and look what you've seen. Also, with something like a teenage girl from the Rara Murray tribe entered one of the biggest ultramarathons in Mexico and won it by several hours over all the professional runners and from the United States, Mexico, and she ran it in plastic sandals.
Oh my gosh, when?
Bro, like, you can look this. I did a post on her. This is a few years ago. She's won several more since then. She's now one of the top ultra runners.
That's
in the world.
amazing.
Yeah, bro. I think she's actually finally doing it in real shoes too. Like, seriously, no.
That's the other depressing thing when you see these athletes that come from there where they have little or no high level equipment. Forget high level, any type of basic shoes.
Yeah.
They just come and win.
Bro, I mean,
in nothing.
So insane. But so I love studying these. And at some point before long, I'd like to start doing more. Oh yeah,
Is this her?
Yep. That's her.
What's her name?
Was she wearing that dress the whole
Maria
time
something.
too?
Yeah, she was.
That's
that's
insane.
that's their native garb. That's,
she won in that dress,
bro. And those shoes.
That's incredible.
She won a top ultramarathon in a dress and
Imagine
sandals.
losing and seeing her across the finish line in front of you.
She would beat me in a race like that at the distance. Well, probably in any race, honestly. But in a distance like that, she at 100 miles or whatever, 50 miles, she would torch me.
Probably not in a heavy pack ruck or something
I'm also probably, I'm double her body mass.
Pounds, heavier. But that's amazing.
That's insane.
That's insane. She did it in that dress.
Yeah. So don't tell me that there isn't, and again, Francis Ngannou, he started training MMA like 5 years ago, or you know what I mean, whatever. And
yeah,
now
he's not like a Gracie.
He's a heavyweight champ. He's heavyweight champion. Now he's fighting the best boxers on the planet. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, genetics are just they're an unbelievably unfair thing in this life, and they are. But you go to certain places like you're mentioning, you go to Africa, you find, our family does a lot of basketball, high level, especially at high school level here in Arizona, and so many of the athletes that come out of that part of the world are just freaky right away. It's
not just genetics too. It's that they have genetics, but they have hardship. Their compasses are different. It's the same thing like if you put me in a suffering contest with the next ultramarathon runner, like that's how I win. I'm slow. I run 4 to 5 miles an hour. That's it. I just don't have to stop. My body doesn't break down, and my mind doesn't turn on me. And so over time, that's why the longer the race, the better. Like the longer the race is, the more elite I become. I'm a very average 100-mile runner. But there's only a few people on planet Earth that can run 500 miles at any sort of pace, let alone carrying 30 to 40 pounds.
You're right, yeah.
And so it's just that my strength lies in the grit, the gristle, the grind. There's no refinement to it. I, to this day, have zero experience running, no training. I never did cross country. I never did anything. I was born with a freaky fast 40-yard dash, like NFL combine level fast.
What was your fastest 40?
I don't know. I know that before I hit puberty, I was 15. I just turned 15 and never trained, never lifted, never been taught to run, never sprint trained or anything. I was playing soccer and one of the football coaches saw me and they had. So I went to. Long story. I spent a part of my childhood in like a wealthy area as like the socially outsider, social outsider. But they had the school I went to had a huge football program, like a multi-million-dollar a year, huge football program, and they had. When they had like laser timed track, like a laser timed track setup, they were doing like a mini combine. Yeah. And I just turned 15, no training, nothing. Was kind of a late bloomer, barely had armpit hair, and I ran a 4.51. That's on a laser timer.
Good for you, man.
There were, I got way faster too. So 4.4 something would have been for sure.
Oh, even a hair under 4.6 is fast as can be.
Oh yeah,
no matter who you are, no matter how big you are.
Yeah, no, I was running a 4.6 when I was like a preteen.
So you
sprinting.
You might have had a real.
Yeah, so I'm super fast. Didn't love football, but super fast for 40 to 60 yards. I'd taper in track. Torch everyone in the 60, and then it was just a grind, to finish the 100, in a 100-meter. But my point being, zero endurance capability. My body was wired extremely far in the opposite direction, And so it's like, yeah, it's why for someone my size, I'm like the fast twitch stuff, picking up something heavy, sprinting, jumping.
Powerlifting.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? I have high vertical, I do all that stuff, even though I rarely train it now. I mean, I just overall hybridized training. I sprint barefoot. I do, train, my Graham, my buddy, barefoot sprinter. So that's how I keep my ankles and knees and hips and all that. And he really helps me a lot with movement stuff too. He's an actual wizard. When you get him out here, you got to just pick his brain
I'm excited.
on stuff.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited.
He has a very objective and original approach to things, as opposed to most of us, like all of us at some degree, just inherit and regurgitate something from West Side Barbell or something from Neo Verto, whatever it is. Graham's he comes out in his own way, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Need more coaches like that. Seems like a lot of people are saying the same thing, and it's not to say that it's wrong. It's just I agree. I wouldn't say there's very little originality, but I think a lot of times people do end up saying what others have said and just kind of keep going. Very, very often do people come up with a very new original training concept or idea.
So I agree. I used to kind of get annoyed at it, or like kind of almost like in my head be like, dude, what an idiot, that guy's just regurgitating this or that. What I realized, I heard Jordan Peterson once say that we copy people who know what they're doing until we also know what we're doing, or something. I'm paraphrasing,
well put.
But something to that effect. That's how I interpret it, at least. And it's right. Like in the beginning, like I did a lot of like Strong First, West Side Barbell, that sort of stuff, and then eventually Wild Hunt became its own thing in its own way. But that's only because it didn't exist. Like what I wanted didn't exist, so I built it. Like I wanted to be able to run ultramarathons, to pick up, to deadlift 500-600 pounds. I wanted to be able to go roll. I wanted to box. I wanted to, go be a true mountain athlete and be elevation adapted and be able to shoot bear and pack them out on my back with, bow and arrow and, alone. And everyone I went to is like, dude, I don't know, like that's I don't think so. I'm like, but why?
Yeah. And everything gets passed down. I mean, Louis passed away. Louis, when he was here, he took what he learned from overseas Russians. Someone came up with it and taught them, and we're the next generation, and it's just important to keep going. And that's someday someone's going to hear about Wild Hunt who has no idea who Louis Simmons was or what West Side is, or that's going to start to happen more and more.
Yeah. And when they do, they should know that all of his ideas are actually mine.
It is kind of it is funny how I think a lot of this is creating the perception that you know exactly what you're talking about until you do. Until you do.
Yeah. Like, no, you don't come out of the womb with anything. It's the same. Like if I walked into an accounting firm tomorrow and was like, all right, I'm gonna out accountant the head accountant here or whatever. Like that's not gonna happen, bro. This, it's time, skills, and knowledge, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. So don't be ashamed of it. Don't pretend like you know more than you do. Like ask questions, learn, grow. Yeah. To this day, I go like when I get back, I'm going to train with a bodybuilder buddy. Like I don't know anything about. I know hypertrophy training, but I don't know anything about high level elite IFBB bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to learn. And like I don't care. I'm not gonna same thing with like when I met Mark Bell for the first time. I walked into his gym. I was like, oh. Like I've run a few ultra marathons, but like, can you just like teach me how to deadlift 500 pounds real quick, And but it's like, you got to put yourself in those positions, because if I had walked into any of these places and been like, yeah, I already know, no, Mark Bell, what are you going to tell me? I know you benched 800 pounds, but what are you going to tell me about strength? What does that get you?
Yeah. Always important to stay flexible and open, especially it's why guys like Mark are so valuable and so rare. People that have dedicated their whole lives to any one or two things that are still doing it and have reached that level and are willing to share. That's a lot of factors. So if you get the chance to be around somebody like that, make sure you're there with open ears. God gave you one mouth and 2 ears for a reason.
I agree. And that's one reason that I make so much free content for myself too. I mean, I'm sorry, free training programs, free, I give away more more stuff than I actually ask people to pay for. Mm-hmm. And that's always my rule. It's like, I try to, well, for any of you who are interested in building social media accounts, and commerce, or e-commerce stuff, I like a ratio of 4 to 1 as term, give away 4 free pieces for everything you would ask someone to pay for. Yeah. And that demonstrates not only goodwill, but that allows people to see, oh, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. I had a chance to go run this program. So I keep not only do I keep an entire library of free training programs on my website, it's completely separate from the ones where people buy, and I give free samples of everything. Mm-hmm. But it's like you have to provide value before you expect people to think that you're valuable or that your content is valuable.
positions you as the authority, and when they are ready for that, which they might not be when they first come in with the free value, once they are, they're warmed up and they're ready to buy.
They are
ready to jump in.
Yeah, and they have that in their back pocket. Or when something happens and you decide that you want to, hey, I want to deadlift 405 and run a marathon on the same day or do whatever, like that's there. Or maybe you're just not ready and someday you are. Yeah. But I'm a big believer. Like I tried for a long time and had people as a former drug addict with me try to change me. And you can't change people. You can't force them to do anything. But you can provide a really awesome, really convenient ladder for the people when they're ready, to start climbing on.
Yeah.
And so that's what I look to do.
That's something that, whenever people hear Wild Hunter, they hear we're going to have a conversation and stuff, they always think about all the advancements you've made in training specific to your sport and your activity level. But the business side of what you've done, the media, the scaling, the fact that you are a successful online coach of any kind in today's day and age says
I'm not
something.
A coach.
Or if you sell anything online, you are, even if you're not directly coaching, you are an online coach. You are providing a service that people will purchase. Is there, what would you say it seems like it's the most saturated market on the face of this earth, people trying to sell something online. How have you scaled to where it's at now?
So that's a really interesting question. I became a minor expert in e-commerce and social media algorithms to take an objective look at this thing. And what you say is true. Like the barrier of entry is so low that anyone can put anything on social media and ask you to pay for it or put it online. But you really just have to look at what works and what first, like a good way to think of it is like what worked on you. When you buy something, how did you get there? What was the journey of awareness, of trust, of, be willing to actually try this thing, and then you provide that to people. For me, a big piece of it is the free content because that takes care of a lot of that for you, and it's not just free posts and free YouTube videos that, I'm doing this all, the money's just out of my own pocket. Like and that's fine because I enjoy and I love what I'm doing. So I don't care about, traveling to these places, shooting these things, paying people to make that, whatever. But you really do just at the end of the day have to think about the customer first, and not in some cheesy way like the customer is always right, but how can I actually provide them the value that they need, and then also how can I reach them with it? That's a big thing, because there's people with 1 million followers on Instagram that only make 10,000 a month off their account, something like that. Yeah. And that's we talked about this last time I was here. Like I had a marketing expert tell me once, if you have more than 30,000 followers on Instagram and you're not flying on a private jet, you're doing something wrong. And
interesting.
In terms of pure monetization, and he's right. I've come to realize that in terms of e-commerce and following, followers, getting more followers is for basics. If you're doing the right things, that's going to happen on its own. That's like worrying about the ripples in a pond rather than the stone itself.
Yeah.
So basically conversions is, it's getting kind of specific, but if anyone's interested, conversions is where it's at. It is how to connect, not to get a bigger audience, but connect deeper with your audience, provide value with them. And so Tim Ferriss, he recently posted something that said, as a marketing strategy, if you can get 1,000 people to buy everything you put out, you'll never have to work another day in your life.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to get 10 million people to buy one of my programs, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I try to do the best quality I can to the people who are already following me, who are already knowing me. And as you provide value to them, then your awareness spreads, then you grow. Like I intentionally, I was already doing this last time I was here. I try not to go viral on social media intentionally. Virality is more problematic for conversions because if you're just getting, if you're growing a couple % every week, that's great. You're landing in front of your target audience. They're people actually seeking functional fitness, hybrid training, whatever it is. The second you go viral is the second you have dudes or people from outside of that coming in that have no interest in actually positively engaging with your stuff, with buying your stuff. It's just like a grandma that saw you do something crazy and follows you. Yeah, dude, that doesn't convert. That doesn't do anything. That's an ego metric.
Yeah.
And so I think about the actual people you're trying to reach, connect with them, provide value to them, and don't be a douche, and you're going to do fine. Also, just be efficient. That's the thing. If I'm a full-time athlete and the CEO of what is now one of the biggest functional fitness brands on the planet, I can't afford to be running around doing a bunch of shit that doesn't actually matter. So I focus, I delegate. I like the Eisenhower matrix for organizing things. It's basically just simple thing that Dwight Eisenhower used to make up decisions. It's basically you align things based on their importance and their urgency. So important, not important, urgent, not urgent, And then it's like the things that are important and urgent you do now, the things that are important but not urgent you schedule, the things that are urgent but not important you delegate, and then the things that are both unimportant and unurgent you just don't do. Just ignore, because they're not going to matter anyway. So I take that view and that perspective with my business as well. I don't run a huge team. That's why I don't run a physical gym. I'm just a guy at the end of the day that wants to hunt in the mountains, wants to run some ultras, wants to pick up some heavy stuff, and live like a caveman. Yeah. So the more that I can just create a direct online connection with my people and provide my followers, provide them value, teach them how to train, teach them history, teach them, help them connect with some of like some of the aspects of physical culture, and
just an ego booster.
I'm telling you, take it, bro.
It's absolutely. You answered your own question when you asked earlier. What is it that if I were to buy anything online, what has to happen for me as the customer in order for that to ever happen? And one very, very simple answer to that is that I have to have received dozens of hours of free content from this perspective coach, whatever it is. If it's somebody who's going to help us with a marketing strategy, if it's somebody's anything, I have to have absorbed, probably by the time I pull the trigger and buy something, hundreds of hours worth of their content, so that I know not only is this person efficient and excellent at what they do, but I've already been helped by what they offer. I want to get it even more. I want it tailored specifically to me.
That's exactly. I want to go deeper.
If they ever tried to sell to me, then I probably wouldn't do it at all. Because if you're creating something for a high ticket individual who's buying a high ticket offer, they're probably smart enough to have figured out a lot of stuff on their own already.
No, that's big. Treat your consumers as if they're intelligent, because most likely they're at least as intelligent as you are.
Yeah.
And so show them some, here's information.
Respect the audience.
Yeah.
Don't think that they're stupid.
No, and present them with real information and real value, and let them decide what they want to do with it. If they want to click past it, that's fine. If you want to come over to the website, pick up a free program or a training program, that's fine also. You know what I mean? But you're giving them the ladders, and if they want to start climbing the rungs, that's great,
Yeah.
Don't force them, though.
Absolutely, bro. Where would anybody go if they wanted to get in touch with you, or they wanted to do like your program? Where would they go?
Just wildhuntconditioning.com. Wild Hunt Conditioning on, YouTube. So we actually have a YouTube now.
No kidding.
Yeah, gained like almost 30,000 subscribers last month alone.
My man.
I know.
Dude, your growth is crazy.
Yeah.
I just like YouTube's new.
Let me see it. Wild Hunt. Let's see what it.
I think we have like 3 real videos.
Your growth on all your platforms is crazy, though. I mean, as somebody who does this full time, you have the craziest metrics of almost anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah, dude. So some days, my story views it's talk,
great,
like.
dude. That's
so
awesome.
That's the thing. Like
that all happened in 1 month. You got 32,000, and
I was at like 4,000 before I had before I was actually producing content. So yes, but the rest of that came in the last, I think, right about a month, 5, 6.
Your content is just incredible.
Your content is
the presentation and just your thumbnails alone. I mean, look at those first 6 videos. Dude, I'd watch any of those. Dude,
I had to learn the thumbnails. That's its own thing. Fortunately, I had a good buddy who is pretty plugged into the YouTube world, so he was able to be like, do them eye-catching and clicky, but not clickbaity, not deceptive. Just make sure, like, you want someone to get their attention and read the thumbnail. I'm like, oh, pretty simple. Yeah. But no, man, it's just like with my physical training. I take a minimum effective dose of the maximum effective methodology, so I can spin as many pies on as many fingers at the same time as I can. And so I learned the algorithms instead of just sending stuff out into the void and hoping people would like it, or depending on virality. Like, I wanted to end up in front of the right eyes, the people that actually wanted to watch my stuff and see my stuff and engage with my stuff, and then provide them value. So
I like how you keep the videos short and sweet too. They're not like most of them aren't over.
Here, you see, those are my experimental stuff. Last year, I did, during summer, just, on my phone, I was just trying to edit stuff I didn't know how to do. You can see no thumbnails, none of that. And then, let's see.
Even the experimental videos are getting 3,000, 4,000 views.
And those are Nomad. Those are some of those are instructionals, unconventional hypertrophy and Nomad functional running. Those are just my workout programs, and I put instructional videos up there also, so people can go. Like, people who buy the programs can see, all the exercise demonstrated, but also people who are just curious can watch the full, every exercise, all that. Like, I'm not trying to hide my this or that.
No.
Come watch, come train. No. And then if you want to train in this way, Here's a expertly organized template that's going to balance both your endurance, your functional strength, and your real world capabilities, and program in a way you're not going to burn yourself out. You're not going to overlap your training. You're not going to be negating your gains from your strength training by doing your cardio wrong, or your cardio, making yourself weaker by doing that. It's like, so it's just, at the end of the day, it's, do you want to spend the next 5 to 10 years kicking rocks on your own, figuring this out, or do you want to, come spend $40?
That's really the only thing that like guys like us should be selling, is just the exclusivity to the one individual person. Other than that, I'm going to show you everything. Yeah. I'm going to show you all the workouts, all the movements, all the everything, and you can see them and do them on your own, or I can take all those templates and I can condense them and I can make them specifically for you. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. Other than that, it's all free.
Yeah. No, that's very much. And like I said, I'm very blessed in the sense that I don't have to rely on that. It's like I don't even accept sponsorship money. Like the sponsors I work with, I do not accept like cash payments at all.
Nice.
My deal with them is all the same. It's give my people discounts and like help me with like support my projects. Like, if I'm running across the desert, then throw contribute some protein bars for my, what I mean, some fueled mixes, like, for my training camp, for my, and of course, like my smart, like Scratch Lab is their endurance specialized nutrition company out of Boulder, Colorado. They go way above and beyond. Like I'm going out there next month for like DNA based electrolyte testing to get my exact like fluid loss rates and the electrolyte ratios that I shed to prepare for the the big one coming up. And so it's like some they go way above and beyond, but at the end of the day, I partner with the companies that I believe in, that
let me try out Elevate, and then that's cool. That's really cool. Let me try out Elevate, and if it all works out and I like it and it does what they say it does, I'm gonna hook you up with them.
Yeah,
because that'll play directly into your training specifically. I mean, to train at high elevation anywhere in the world is
that would be huge.
That's huge. That's everything.
Yeah, dude, Scratch is it's like liquid IV on steroids, but not actual steroids. They got different mixes, but the one I like is the recovery because it's got some protein in it. It's got the carbs and it's got the full like an endurance specific electrolyte
Looks good.
balance.
That's great.
The horchata one, bro, it's amazing. I mean, you might want to hit them up.
I might, yeah.
Tell them you're my buddy.
I'll do them when we do the hikes and stuff. That'd be a good thing to take to the top of the mountain.
No, it's the best. So for the outdoor stuff, ultra runners, cyclists, skiers, anything cross country outdoors, that's there. I mean,
Scratch.
Yeah. Great for jiu-jitsu and all that too, but that's their main thing.
Yeah, I might have you hook me up with them, and I'll hook you up with Elevate. That's a good company.
Yeah, code WildHunt20 will save you 20% too.
Sweet.
But yeah, so like I said, being focusing on the e-commerce, actually having Wild Hunt be a business really frees me up to make the content that I want, do the projects that I want, and work with the people that I want. So I'm very grateful for sure.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Thanks again for coming in, buddy.
Of course, brother.
It's always great to have a chat. These are the best. Seriously.
Absolutely.
we got, I know you said is this really your last podcast?
Might be, bro. I mean, if you guys ask me to come down, I'm probably not going to be like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want you to come back in again.
We are going to ask you again.
We're going to ask you again.
Fine. I'm not going to big dog you guys. But no, it's not that. I'm introverted. I mostly stay in my own lane, and I had a good time when I came down last time, and now you guys are buddies. So it's like, it's not like I have to come in and talk to a bunch of people I don't know, and and do this and that. But I have. In certain small areas, the more mainstream has learned about me. So I did agree to a couple like media appearances later this year. Assuming I pass vetting, that's a thing too. They vet you, and they're like, I got a lot of like criminal records, so I'm not sure you guys are gonna.
There's a pod. They're gonna vet you to
it's
go.
It's not a pod. It's more. It's like a media thing.
Oh, cool.
But they have. It's just been like months of vetting. I was like, But
to make sure you're not on Epstein Island or something.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Well, no, it was funny because one of the production assistants hit me up, and they're like, look, we believe what you say about being incarcerated, but we can't find any record for it. And I was like, I sent them all the stuff. I'm like, I got expunged earlier this year. I was like, it's so I just sent them the stuff over, but it was a crazy experience for me because for so long I just had so much shame, over being a convict and and just trying to be, I had this anyway. So it was strange it was a very funny but positive moment where I was like, oh no, I am a piece of shit still. Don't worry.
but it got expunged. That's kind of cool, right?
No, that was cool. I never expected that. I work with a couple special forces guys or former special forces guys through Wild Hunt, and then a good buddy of mine through jiu-jitsu who was also one, and then went into law enforcement. Was actually the one who brought it up. And so I talked to all of these guys, and basically my buddy Corey, the one that had told me, he put me in touch with some high-level legal people, and they looked at everything, and they're like, some serious stuff, but this is mid 2000s, that most of the stuff dates back to. You've shown an incredible record of, growth and improvement, service to the law enforcement, military community since, and so let's put it in front of a judge and see what they say. And apparently, I don't know if the judge was like a secret hybrid athlete or something like that, but he didn't, like, we had a court date set to go and everything, and he just sent a message. He's like, yeah, he just granted it. We didn't even have to show up.
Well, that's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, it was
that's
insane.
Cool.
Yeah, it was insane, man.
That's rare.
Yeah, apparently.
To get anybody to move on anything like that is...
Without even seeing them?
Without even seeing you? He
Yeah,
just
dude,
looked at it, he was like, okay.
This guy ran, what, 500 miles? Okay, yeah.
Well, it's, everything, again, it's not the intended use of social media, but everything you've done is so incredibly public. If the judge just saw everything, he's like, oh, this guy's contributing to society in a very positive way. He's obviously not doing what he was before. Why not?
I'll probably never get to ask him, but I'd like to think so. It was definitely and it doesn't change much about my life day to day, but my mom cried when it happened. You know what I mean?
bet.
And so I was like, okay, it was worth the the money and the time on it.
Oh, 100%. Totally worth it, and it's just encouraging to hear that he decided to do that. It validates things.
And so I
you
guess
know what I mean?
System's not entirely. There's still a few good ones fighting in the system, I guess.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Man, that was fun.
Yep.
All right, guys. Let's call it there.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you guys so much for watching that episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. If you like the content and you want to see more of it, hit the like and subscribe. Activate that notification bell as well. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to see more of it, we actually have the Becoming the 1% Instagram, and the podcast is available on Spotify. For our socials, we have Strict Vision Athletics on Instagram, we have it on YouTube, and we have it on TikTok.